Hello, I'm James Wacob, and today we're making a video for Turnkey Invest Academy. So this is where we're going to teach about the different aspects of real estate investing that my investors need to know. Today's video is about your 10 golden tickets. This is a way to buy real estate with as little as 20% down plus closing cost with 30-year fixed interest rates. So overwhelmingly, the majority of my investors are out of state or out of the country. Why? Because where they live, real estate just doesn't make sense. The real estate's too expensive and that kills the cash flow. What is cash flow? So cash flow is simply your gross rent minus all expenses. It's the money left over at the end of the month that you can put in your pocket or save up for your next investment. So your 10 golden tickets, each tax-paying American citizen who has plenty of reserves in the bank qualifies for this. I meet with real estate guys that have been in this for 50 years, home builders, developers, all the time. And when I tell them this, they didn't know that. So don't think this is just for the newbie investor. But if you don't know about the 10 golden tickets, why do we call it that? Because my out-of-country investors, my investors from Israel, Australia, Canada, they're like, you get what? 20% down, that's it? 30-year fixed interest rates? Wow, y'all have got it so good. Now, this could go away. I've seen it change over the years I've been doing this. At one time, they went from 10 properties with 20% down to 6 properties with 20% down, the remaining 4 with 25% down. Doesn't hurt you, makes your cash flow a little bit better, but it requires more cash out of pocket. So in the future, unknown. There's been talk about taking this program away altogether. It's one of the best things that could happen to my world, which was wanting to own properties as a passive income to replace our income for future years as we retire and to give us options. With enough cash flow in your pocket, it doesn't matter if you get laid off your job. It sure helps if you run into a financial something that you weren't expecting. So cash flow is king for me. I highly suggest working with a loan officer who is an investor themselves. That's one of my requirements for anybody I work with, my attorney, my home inspector, everybody I work with in the real estate world, I consider my teammate. Joined together, I've put together a panel of experts that I provide to you guys, who I use on all of my rental properties as well, by the way, to give us 100+ years of combined experience. I've got 20 years in the business, but so does my home inspector. So does my attorney, and so on and so on. So use a mortgage officer who knows this world. Anybody in the mortgage world could help you get your first mortgage. However, it's that 5th or 15th property that is hard to do. So how do you get to the 15? Well, I have 9 Fannie Mae Freddie Mac loans as investment properties in my name, plus my personal residence. There's my 10 golden tickets. My wife is gainfully employed, and she has 10 golden tickets, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans in her name. Therefore, we have 19 of these loans, and if they give me 30, I'd take them. It's the best deal in real estate there is. So work with someone who knows this business, who has done it themselves, is doing it all the time, who can take you to that next level. One of the key factors is that all of my preferred lenders count a portion of your gross rent towards your income. That way, you're not getting in trouble when it comes to your DTI, debt to income ratio. Unless you have a huge income guaranteed for the next 10 years while you're buying your properties, at some point, a lot of my investors run into a hiccup around number 5. If they're not using a preferred lender, it's because of a debt to income ratio not being met. So how do I qualify for these loans? Minimum credit score 620. But let's try to get you to a 760 or above. It's not hard to do. If you're not there, I can help you with that. But 760 or above is what we're basing all of our pro formas on. And that's the best credit score range you can be in. 760 or above is where we want to get you. What kind of reserves am I going to need for this property? So in late 2019, Fannie Mae changed their reserve guidelines. I confirmed before making this video. It's the 15th of May in 2022. And so here's the guidelines. Read the article. It spells it out really well. So 2% of the aggregated unpaid principal borrowing for the first 1 to 4 properties. So only 2% of the unpaid balance on the first 1 to 4 properties. Once you get into number 5 through 6, you're going to need 4% in the bank to cover the unpaid balance of your properties that you have plus the new one. And then properties 7 through 10, they're going to want to see 6% of the unpaid principal balance. So number 9, you have 6% of the unpaid balance in the bank plus the new property. So that last property, you're going to need, $60,000 in the bank if you're buying an average property that I'm producing here in Memphis, Tennessee. All along the way, you're going to be paying your 20% down plus closing cost. And that's the number one place where my investors pause because they're ready to buy more houses. They're just out of cash. Get with me if that's the case. I've got some really creative ways to get in with these properties. So what does the process look like to get my first loan? What documents am I going to need? I've got a list of them in the article. If you don't have a copy of the article, go to turnkeyinvest.com. Reach out to me and the team. We'll get it in your hands right away. What are the interest rates? And are they fixed for 30 years? Yes, they're fixed for 30 years. A lot of my investors do a 15-year mortgage. Heck, I would take a 50-year mortgage if they would give it to me, because I plan on paying all of these properties off well before that 30-year mark. That can go into our debt snowball talk. If you haven't seen that, go to my YouTube videos. You can see my presentation on the debt snowball when it relates to buying single-family homes. Not the most popular in my industry because so many of the guys in my industry refi till you die, get on as much debt as you can. Hey, what if we got every investor I worked with, hundreds of investors, to number 1, buy 20 houses? Because most of them get stuck around number 7 or life happens and they get off course from the game plan they created out front. Just buy the 20 and then pay them off. That's where really big cash flow comes in, is when you get 10, 15 properties paid for. And now that goes from $300 to $700 a month per property of cash flow. It's a real comfortable feeling to have some paid for properties as well. Let's see, how long does it take to close on the property? So currently about 30 to 45 days from the time you go under contract, assuming the house is move-in ready, go under contract to close. That should give your provider, whether it's me or whoever else, plenty of time to put a resident in there and start collecting rent. Therefore, my team has not sold a property to our investors that was a turnkey property, meaning we bought it, renovated it, sold it to you guys, that was not tenanted in the past 2 years. Pretty good track record. My team is doing all the right things to make sure we have people living in these houses. The one caveat to that would be new construction. I mean, it's under construction. It's hard to view. We close the day that it's completed. And then about 2 weeks later, then the resident moves in. All right, so that list of what you're going to need, the documents you're going to need: driver's license, 2 years two most recent pay stubs, 2 most recent bank statements, 2 years tax returns, and your most recent retirement investment statement covering the most recent 60 days. All right, so for all of the properties you own, you need to be gathering your current mortgage statements, current tax bill, and insurance statements if the property is free and clear, you don't have a mortgage on it. Copy of your current and most recent HOA receipts, if that's applicable, and a copy of the current lease if you have properties that are leased out. If you happen to have child support or alimony, you'll want to get the divorce decree and child support documents together before applying for the loan. I like to go to a bank with everything in hand. I'm prepared, baby. Here I am. Let's talk. A mortgage lender in this case, or the bankers I work with, that's the kind of person they want to do business with. I'll send an email to a new banker that I'm wanting to establish a relationship with all of the items that I know they're going to ask for: personal financial statement, 3 years tax returns, even though they're going to ask for 2, all the information that they're going to want, and introduce myself. Hi, I'm James. I'm here to get a loan. And man, they want to talk to me. So 15% down loans have been available in the past. However, they require principal mortgage insurance. I stay away from those. In the future, that might be something we're looking at. Right now, I think it's best to go for the 20% down or 25% down to get a little bit better interest rate. Keep as much money in your pocket. but get that good interest rate. Don't pay PMI. Principal mortgage insurance, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, is insurance you're buying on behalf of the lender, not yourself. In case you were to default, that insurance kicks in and helps the lender. All right, so let's break this down. If you buy a $185,000 investment property here in Memphis, Tennessee, we bought it, we fully renovated it, it's pretty, it's tenanted, you're going to buy it, I'm going to need 20% down. That's $37,000. Approximately $6,500 in closing costs. What is closing costs? $6,500. Well, you're prepaying your taxes and insurance up front. You have attorney fees. You've got to FedEx the documents to you. Have a mobile notary meet you. The lender has to make some money, and that's where they make their money. So the total amount needed out of hand, cash out of hand, $43,500 on a $185,000 home. So that money out of hand, that's our cash invested. The great bank over here is going to carry the remainder of that over the next 30 years. And we're going to let the tenant pay you back through rent and cash flow, that $43,500 and beyond. They're going to start paying off that mortgage. So the idea is long-term, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Have that renter and that monthly income minus all expenses, including future repairs and vacancy. So who's paying for all that? The resident is. Pay down this mortgage. You're going to end up with a paid off property. If you never make extra payments, I would suggest that in the future, once you've acquired all your homes, and now you'll be left with a paid off property one day. All right. So how have things changed since COVID-19? Well, if you're borrowing money, they're going to ask for more items. They want to know that you are guaranteed your job. And so this hasn't gone away yet, but COVID seems to be lifting. It might come back. Who knows? I have no crystal ball. If you're self-employed, a lot has changed. They want to see your most recent tax returns. If you haven't filed them for 2021, do it. Because if you're borrowing money, these lenders want to see that. They're going to want to see that you were profitable through COVID and that you're going to be a company that's going to stick around afterwards. A lot of us are. Matter of fact, a lot of companies thrived through COVID. Should I take a 15 or 30-year mortgage? We've already covered that one. Personally, I take the longest terms they would give us with the idea of paying them off early. Now, if you have plenty of reserves, the 2nd through 10th property is so easy to move forward on, as long as you're staying with the same preferred lender. So the first one, it feels like they're pulling blood. Oh, you want this, you want that. It's the list of things I'm giving you here, so don't be surprised. Unless you have complications like divorce decrees and things like that get a little bit more complicated. You know you're going to have to get this to your banker. But the second purchase, hey, you're ready to go. You might have to update a few documents, new pay stubs, but you're ready to go on the 2nd through 10th mortgage once you get that first one under your belt. It's all about having reserves in the bank. And let's end on saying this. So the reserves, make sure you can source the money. If you've got $100,000 under a mattress, don't dump it into the bank and say, hey, give me my loan. Where'd that money come from? They want to know where the money came from. Why? I get this question all the time. Why do they care? It's none of their business. Well, back in the day, in the last recession, a lot of people would go to a family member, borrow some money, put it in the bank account, go buy a house, pay the family member back the money. It was a card game. They were, trying to just make it look like they had money in the bank when they really didn't. They just borrowed it from a family member. I even saw a potential homeowner I was trying to sell a house to. They went and got a car loan, like a loan on their car at one of these payday places. So they took their car up there. They got a $5,000 hard money loan, stuck it in the bank so they could qualify to buy the house. When we went to source the money, meaning where'd you get that $5,000? They had to tell us, I borrowed it from some loan shark. They didn't get the house. So that's why it's important to always source your funds. And they're going to ask you, hey, where'd this $15,000 come from? Hey, I move a lot of money around. You've got to source it or they can't give you the loan. So lastly, in the article, you'll see it says visit turnkeyinvest.com to get this article, to get a list of all of our preferred lenders. The preferred lenders I'm using right now have been using for 5+ years. It hasn't changed. In the future, there might be a new preferred lender or one of our lenders might move banks. So always reach out to us, get the most up-to-date preferred lender list. It's people that we have vetted, people that are investors themselves. They know this industry, and they can get you to where you're trying to go a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, better rates, and lower fees. So reach out to us at turnkeyinvest.com. Let's build you a portfolio, doesn't matter where in the world you live, that produces results. Thank you so much for your time.